My guest today is Christian W. Schnepf. Christian, you are an adventurous sociologist, a human behavior expert, and creator of the Science of Good Times. Your work blends PhD level research with real world exploration across continents. And you have developed a data driven approach to measure and optimize life's quality. You're passionate about helping others, making the conscious pursuit of good times the number one priority in life and work. Christian, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, Agi. It's my pleasure to be here.
Good times and the science of good times is such an intriguing, and I think very few people would be not interested in good times or having good times. So we will certainly talk about that. Before we do, Christian, I wanted you to tell us. You describe in your journey walking away from conventional success in your 20s to journey the world, etc. What was the internal turning point that made you question everything and do that?
The first time I started questioning everything regards the conventional definition of success was when I reached most of the things that I've been told were success. I was around 20, 21 maybe. And yeah, in my case back then, I've been told higher education is success. If you get recognition and attention, that's success. If you have money, that's a success. If you're in a good shape, that's success. If you have friends and perhaps a girlfriend, that's all success. So I reached that very early. And I figured out that it's not even a matter of luck. That's literally just I'm doing ABC and then I get what I was aiming for. And when I reached those points, I felt increasingly empty. I realized I'm not really fulfilled. And I was wondering, where is this leading? Because I could see in society that this is literally the blueprint and then you would just continue doing this. And I was 20, so according to the average lifespan people can expect, I had another 60 years in front of me at least, with a healthy body even more. And I'm saying basically I'm just bridging the time until I'm dying, because more satisfying it won't be. It wasn't bad though. So I said it's okay, but there got to be more. And as there wasn't more and I couldn't find more in my environment, I slowly lost really the motivation to be alive.
The two things, thank you for sharing this. And there are two things that really highlighted. One was the fact that you came to this realization. You were blessed, I would say, to come to this realization early in life, in your early 20s, because for me personally, and many people I know, this realization comes much later. It's usually in their 40s that they see all these things differently. So that was one thing I find fascinating, and to have that realization so early. The other thing, there was something that you said, and I think that's very important, and many can relate to that. You said that it wasn't bad, and that's I believe the situation many of us find ourselves in. It's not like we are unhappy or miserable or this. Things are okay on the outside, but there is something lacking, perhaps on the inside. I use the word fulfillment in these cases, but I think everyone can fill in the blanks of what it is, but it is something more internal. So this just as my observations in your story, and I don't know if you want to add anything to that before I move on to the actual good times.
I would like to add something, because after I lost that hope and the outlook that things could get better, I mean, I could just do more of the same, which is, if it's not fulfilling, it won't be fulfilling if I do more of it. And after I lost that motivation, slowly things fell apart, because I didn't have a driver. I didn't have anything to put more efforts into the things I'm doing. So after things fell apart, things became actually very bad. So in that moment, it wasn't just okay, it was then bad, and it didn't give me the solution to, okay, now it's worth going more. No, actually, it was the opposite. Now it actually supported the idea, there's just no point to be alive. It's neither good, it's neither okay, no okay. So that became a turning point for me to say, at one point, I'm deciding to continue living. However, things got to be different, and I'm seeking out to figure out what it is that needs to be different.
So that led you to your journey, the exploration, the need for answers, basically.
Eventually,
to get different.
Yes. It took a while. It took a while because I needed to start searching in my environment. Of course, you start in your immediate environment to look around for answers, and after I didn't find certain answers, I expanded my scope. And that took a while. I even made a second test of the same approach that I had before, just bigger, different environment, and same result. It's not fulfilling. So a couple of years later, I eventually said, let's go hardcore, all in. And that led me abroad. Yeah.
It led you abroad, and it led you to the work that you have created all these years that we were going to talk about. And actually, let's move on to that straight away, Christian. And tell us, as a definition, let's start with something, let's say, fundamental. As a definition, what exactly is the science of good times, and how is it different, from other traditional approaches to, let's say, happiness or self-improvement?
Yeah. The science of good times, in a nutshell, covers the idea to find what it takes to maximize good times. Maximize the amount of good times versus non-good times, which were okay times, and of course then the bad times, how we define them. And the difference to happiness is that happiness is an emotion that can be a good time, however, it's not limited to. So if I'm having a serious conversation that is very intriguing and triggers curiosity, I would describe that as a good time, but my inner state I wouldn't describe as happy. And that's where the difference is, in that I'm not looking only for chemical reactions in my body and giving it an looking isolated at one emotion, but the general scope of positive emotions. And here comes the definition that I'm drawn towards. Basically, I'm appealed by something, and that can be triggering happiness, that can be triggering curiosity, inspiration, or in the ideal case, it leads to fulfillment. So from a biological point of view, humans are equipped with basically two navigators, or two indicators whether we walk in the right direction or not. And that is simply, I'm pulled towards something, I'm attracted by something, which gives me a feeling of a positive feeling, a good time, or I'm repelled from something, which is commonly described as a bad time. And if I have neither an attraction towards something nor a repulsion from something, we usually use the wording, it's okay. We tolerate it. We just don't know where to go. And from a physical point of view, is actually very simple. We are equipped to have those tendencies in order that our inner energy system is functioning, that energy is flowing, that not in the spiritual sense, but in the literal physical sense, that blood is flowing, that we're moving and utilize our kinetic energy. And nature didn't require us to have a complex frontal cortex to analyze all of that stuff, but any animal is equipped to navigate life, to avoid energy blockages and emphasize energy release and energy flow. And basically the science of good times is looking for where energy is flowing and where energy is blocked, and is looking for what are the factors that contribute to energy flow. In other words, contribute to that I'm constantly attracting to the situation I'm finding myself in.
I think what you just said, that last thing that you just said now, it answered quite a lot of questions that were starting to form with the description. So you were talking about, and that's what I wanted to understand a bit better about the actual, how do you define the actual good time? So you were saying
Yeah,
that it is not an inner state, not necessarily anyway. And you said, you used the phrases, something that we are attracted by or appealed,
yeah,
it appeals to us. So the experience was the word that came to my mind as what a
yeah,
good time is, at
yeah.
least in the way that I perceive something. So I wanted to give us a little bit more explanation, or perhaps some examples of,
Yeah,
apart from the obvious, but some other things that would fall into the
yeah,
category of good times, as you said.
yeah.
Might be ideas or experiences or whatever else it is, so that we can really understand that, and then we will move on.
So as you described, as you said correctly, it's an experience. In To be exact, it's an experience measured in the moment. So it's not something like I experience a really bad time that I want to escape from, and years later I look back and say that was a good time. No, it was not a good time. It brings you a good time now. It just helped you to have a good time later. But in the moment itself, it wasn't a good time. And that's why the experience always takes place in the present. And if we take a look, to make it more concrete, just ask yourself, example of work, would you like to go to work even though you wouldn't get anything for the future out of it? You just are appealed, you're attracted to go to work and do what you're doing because it feels good in the very moment. It gives you a good time in the very moment without thinking about it will give me a good time later. And if the answer is no, then it's not a good time. If the answer is like, actually, I would do anything to be not there, that's a bad time. If you say it's okay, usually it's an indicator for you don't know what to do better, or it is something you need to do with the hope it brings you a better time in the future. For example, it gives you the resources, it gives you money, or it gives you recognition, acknowledgement, whatever it is that you need. And a good time usually is not coming out of a moment of scarcity or out of a place of scarcity. It comes more from the I'm okay where I am, and it's just making it better, and not I need to do that. That's actually the opposite. It's a different driver.
That's great, and thank you for that. And now that this is, hopefully it is more clear to everyone, let's talk about measuring these
Yeah,
good times, first of all, because there is a very scientific and precise approach, which
yeah,
I would like to hear more about, how we can measure the good times. And also, perhaps it would be relevant if you think there is any other background you want to give before you actually explain the measuring bit. You can also give that for the sake of
yeah.
completeness.
I think the background I would like to give is why would we need to measure it? What's the point of
Hmm.
measuring stuff? And
Okay.
for me, the number one reason before I started into getting into measuring was, what is it actually we aiming for? And I needed to clarify really, and I'm very clear about this meanwhile, that literally everything we're doing is driven by the motivation to get a good time, whether it's a good time now or it's a delayed good time in the future for longer.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the amplitude, how strong is that good time? Is it like a little is good, or it's amazing? There's a difference. And basically everything we do, any human ever did and will ever do, is driven by that motivation. In a human context, as social species, we can extend that even to beyond our lifetime, that we say that gives a good time for the following generation, for my children, etc. But it is aiming for having maximized good time. So for me, that was very important to clarify what is actually the goal in life, because if I'm not clear about that, I'm chasing other stuff. For example, I'm chasing career success. But what if I'm having that? And I'm feeling empty. So what happened? So then what am I actually looking for? And for me, that was a big part of my initial non-academic research where I just went around and was trying to distill this number one life objective. So after I got clear that, yes, everything we want is maximized good times for as long as possible, for as good as possible, and for as long as possible, then that means that everything we do is aiming to achieve that. So whether we go to work, whether we build an economy, whether we build even a society, whether we go into relationships, anything we do is basically supposed to maximize good times.
Can I ask something? I will interject to that.
Please.
Do you mean anything that we do consciously or anything that we do?
Anything, even
Okay.
unconsciously.
Okay.
That is the thing that I found later. But I can come to this in a moment if you want. What I found, however, after it is so clear that basically all of our efforts, individually and as a society, as collective, is aiming to achieve this, how do we know that what we do is actually leading there and is not leading there? Maybe we driving crazy around doing something and put all of our efforts in that's not even leading us to more good times. And the opposite is happening. We have classic examples of being in a relationship where we think like, what would give me a better time if I'm with her or with him? And eventually, it's just a really, really bad time and you want to leave, but you're not really, because for whatever reasons, if it's psychologically, if it's through your culture, you believe being in it is better. And better needs to be defined in a way, and I defined that, and I will come to this in a moment.
Okay.
But we stick in those situations and those relationships and those work with in our habits that are not really serving us, and maybe they serve us, but we don't even know because we didn't measure it. So that's where I found the need to develop a metric, I found the need to measure it. I just wanted to know the factors. But in my PhD, I realized, okay, let's just got to be a metric out there that we measure which factor is actually leading to more good times. And I found there is no reliable metric out there. So that became eventually, meanwhile, 3-year endorsement to develop that metric.
Okay.
That is currently called the good time ratio, GTR. That basically measures the proportion of positive experiences versus non-positive experiences, including negative and okay. According to that goal, what we had in the beginning, over a lifetime, success would be therefore defined as the majority of time you experience as positive. And that allows eventually to orientate on the best practices. What is doing what person and what practice leads to a maximized positive experience throughout lifetime for myself and the people that matter to me. And that became the foundation of the GTR, the good time ratio metric, which eventually, along the research, connected to what I described earlier, to physical energy flow, where I found the connection to why do we experience good times in the first place? Because it's a biological indicator for energy is flowing, versus a bad time is an indicator energy is blocked, initiating us and triggering us to take immediate actions to change it to unblock energy. And therefore, we can actually root it back, not just subjectively, but even objectively measure how good someone's lifetime is.
That's great. So guide us in a simple way without, going into the scientific analysis of it.
Okay.
How, or perhaps which factors, so we can get an idea in our life might contribute to that ratio.
Yeah.
What things one counts in order to calculate that in the end?
So eventually we are limited to 5 areas in our lives where we feel attraction to or feeling repelled from it.
Okay.
And those 5 life areas, I like to take the metaphor as life is a game because it makes it easy to grasp. Imagine life is a game, which I believe it is. Then you are the player. So that's area number 1. It's the self, the player. Then there are other players. That's social. That's the second area. Then you have actions, so you can do some stuff. That's the third area. You have obtainments, which basically you can get from the outside. Can be money, can be love, can be acknowledgement. And we have a map, a playground, the habitat where we live. That's the environment. That's the fifth area. And we can tell, to maximize good times, we basically say in a nutshell, I truly love who I am, with whom I am, what I do, what I get, and where I am. And we can measure eventually. You can just ask inside of yourself. We developed, meanwhile, a software with a dashboard. It's the goodtime.app, where you can measure that more comprehensively and get a report. However, you can just ask yourself right now, am I satisfied and attracted by being myself? Am I attracted to spending my time with those people I'm spending my time with? Or would I prefer not doing this if I don't need them? And am I attracted to do the things I'm doing? For example, if you go to work, do you like going to work or would you prefer doing something else? And are you also attracted by the things you're getting? So from life, do you like the food you eat? Do you like the comments you get from the outside? Do you like the resources you have access to? And at the last area, do you like where you are? And if you're not sure about that, that means not. Because I ask so many people, and if someone really liked where they are or each of those areas, they correct me when I'm asking, do you like it? They instantly shoot back and say, I love it. I love it. So yeah, I got some comments from some people in different disciplines. They say, yeah, love is the answer. I mean, it sounds a bit too romantic, but eventually love is nothing else but pure energy flow directed towards something or not directed towards something. And basically zero inner blockage. And if there's zero inner blockage, the response comes immediate. And the response comes with emotions. It's not like, yeah, I love it. No. It's like, I love it. That's like clear statement. So if the answer is for you not like this, then there might be some blockage.
This is fascinating, and I will come back to the energy, the flow, the blockages, all this, because it is. I'm keeping that for sure, because there are some things to discuss. But I will stick to what we have been saying. First of all, I find this classification of those five core areas fascinating, and when you were describing it, I was trying to find some argument against one of them or something that is missing, and I couldn't. No, it is different than other classifications that I have used to measure my satisfaction or happiness or things like that. So that's one thing that I noted, the self-social actions, obtainments, and map, which is a very, in a way, different way of classifying.
Can I briefly give a comment to that?
Please do.
You said it's different from the other ways you measured. Did you use the wheel of life?
Yes, the one that comes to mind is wheel of life. Yes,
wheel of life, and that's a common approach that I tried and that I think I succeeded in challenging or overcoming, because it is factor based. Basically, it has assumptions. Like, we assume we have a relationship, and how well is your relationship going? And I used the wheel of life many years ago, and when I started researching and started having interviews, and I found people, they say, I'm really, really satisfied with my life, but I don't have a relationship. According to the wheel of life, that would be a failure. Because you didn't reach that. How satisfied are you with your career? Ask a retired person who is completely fulfilled, doesn't have a career. So we assume those things, and that's also where most life satisfaction metrics are built upon and fall short. Happiness index is assuming that you need to have a certain amount of income to be satisfied. And that's based on assumptions. And my approach was, we need to find some common ground that applies to any human living today in any culture, as well as to any human ever lived. And what are those? What is the framework? And that's where the 5 areas distilled over time.
One other thing, you said assumptions, and one other thing that personally I have challenging when filling in this kind of measurements is how subjective it is. So if I have to give a score from 1 to 10, it is, honestly speaking, whether it's going to be 6 or 7, I can't really pinpoint that. It is quite subjective. Of course, it gives a rough idea, but as a score, so I'm fascinated to go deeper and see how precise the way that you measure it is.
Yeah, so one thing we do is we don't use a score. We don't ask from 1 to 10 because that requires already to use your brain. And your brain is usually more, is a great tool to find threat and to avoid problems. But it's not really a great tool to tell you how you feel, because you don't think satisfaction, you feel satisfaction. So that's why we don't use a scale. We asked, how do you feel? And we currently, in our current version, we allow users to just select on, we could call it a scale, but it's not a real scale. Like from I hate it to I really dislike it, I dislike it, I'm okay, I like it, I really like it, and I love it. And if there's some hesitation to click on I love it, then that's not I love it, period. And that's where you can just feel into those. So we made those experiments where we saw what people tending to click on. And we give even the opportunity to choose 2 things. So you say, I like some parts, but some parts I dislike, and something in between. And calculating therefore the ratio within each element that takes place in someone's life. And in that case, it was an experiment some time ago to see whether that works, and it did work. And we saw on the dashboard a highly accurate outcome and prediction, what needs to be done and where the energy is blocked. We got feedback from users who literally say, I wasn't aware of that, but I'm surprised that you could pinpoint that my biggest challenge in life currently is the relationship with person A. And how did you know? And that is literally, it is very precise indeed.
Christian, for someone listening right now who has ticked the boxes or the traditional boxes of success, but feels unfulfilled or at a crossroads perhaps, what's one insight from the science of good times that can help them realign with their life and meaning?
That is a very good question. And eventually, let me give a bit of context that this is understood. So in the frame of energy flow, let's describe it that way, it is about that your organism, you as a self, you are functioning, your life is functioning. And one of the biggest challenges why this is not the case is because you were orientating on societal definitions of success. That's why I did my PhD or do my PhD in sociology, because I realized it's a big, big factor of influence how people think they need to do what they need to do. But it is not fulfilling if you do something that that you have been told to do while your inner energy system is not working. So it is for you focusing on yourself and saying, I need to be satisfied with myself sustainably. So if I would just drop that one as one single orientation, then if you would really, you could stop listening at that point and really just asking yourself, I'm orientating my whole life that I am 100% satisfied with myself for as long as possible sustainably. If you do this inevitably, you would pay attention to all the other areas supporting yourself. You would pay attention to that no one is, that you're not depending on acknowledgement from others. You would pay attention to that you would have enough income that you can actually move in all directions you want to go, and you can eat healthy food and you can do the things you want to do. You would design your work in a way that you're feeling like, I'm excited to do those things and I'm not feeling an inner resistance, all of those stuff. So that is basically the direction I would give as a recommendation, to ask yourself, am I truly satisfied being who I am, or am I trying to fit in? And am I chasing what someone else defined for me that success is? and what would it really be for me? How would I really want to live? And for the long term. And then designing your own life. Designing the things in your environment that they work for you. That means choose the environment that you say, I really want to be here. And not because I grew up here or because that's what I've been told is the most practical for work. No, I really want to be here. And I'm not spending time with the people because I grew up with them or that's my colleagues. No, I really want to spend time with those people. And then how much money do I need to earn? I need 10K per month. That's what I've been told. Is it true? Or am I actually very, very satisfied with 2K or 1K and living a simple life? That as long as you can live the life you want to do, because that's, especially when it comes to money, it's a big, big trade-off that is mostly not in the favor of the individual. And I say, I'm spending most of my time to get something that I actually don't really need. But now I don't have the time to do the things that I actually want to do. And then designing all of that around. But it is about you. And it is about being highly satisfied with yourself, from your health and physical comfort, bodily comfort, to your mental clarity, to your inner state, your inner peace, and eventually aligning all your actions around what you believe is right for you. Radically, just radically. Just sorting out what doesn't serve me, doesn't fit in here. But I'm not saying it doesn't serve me for a moment, but later I might regret it. No, think it through, but then trust yourself. If it doesn't serve me, then I can trust myself. It doesn't serve me. I choose something else that serves me better.
Christian, thank you for this insightful and inspiring answer you gave. I appreciate very much. As I will start wrapping things up for today, I would like to ask you, first of all, where would you like to direct the listener of this conversation to find out more and carry on the journey with you?
Go on goodtime.app, goodtime.app. I developed that tool together with a team, meanwhile, that doing exactly that, basically allowing you to navigate your life based on data rather than guesswork. And we are currently still in the development, but we want to get people on it and have the experience that we've got from the first users. That is eventually our way to impact as many people as possible and support people. Before I was coaching, I still offer that in case someone wants to have an intensive support, but it has its limits. I'm currently only offering to 3 people a year, also considering my capacity. But with the goodtime.app, we have unlimited support opportunities. And it's a simple way to navigate life clearly.
Thank you. Christian, I also have 2 quick questions for you. And one is, what does personal development mean to you?
Becoming the best version of myself every day and sustainably. So can I look into the mirror? Am I saying I'm living the way I believe is right? And do I have the courage to also look at the things that I'm not satisfied with myself and then accordingly change it? And for me, this is personal development, being the best version of myself.
And hypothetically speaking, if you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self, what's one piece of advice you would tell him?
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Yeah. I mean, I really, as you say, you basically saying it's a different person. You're 18-year-old. And I agree with that. There are some parts of this 18-year-old still inside of me, but I basically would say that's another person. And I have respect of that guy. He did a lot of stuff correct and really well, just wasn't sure about it and was letting himself be influenced by the voices from others, saying maybe it's not good to pay attention to fitness all the time. Maybe it's okay to just stay up longer. Maybe I just don't know and someone else knows better. That was my thought back then. So how can I tell if I didn't try both? Man, you just knew it. You knew it and trust yourself.
Christian, I want to thank you very much for this conversation we had today. I was telling you earlier, I was looking forward to it, and it's really satisfied and more with what I intellectually and my curiosity, and I believe that the insights and some practical things, especially what you were just saying in the end about asking those questions and really taking the time to consider, I believe they are very useful. So thank you very much. I want to wish you all the best with your
Thank you.
journey with the app and your mission. Um, what I would like to leave it with actually it will be your parting words. If you would like to offer something actionable as well to the listener, as your parting words for this conversation.
Something actionable. I think it starts with committing and the belief around I deserve to live good. I deserve to live well, and I deserve to have a good life. And getting clarity around this and allowing yourself, listening inside of yourself and saying, hey, you're great the way you are and you deserve to have a good life. I would encourage people to take the time and convince themselves eventually that they start believing in it is possible to love every day of my life, to love myself, to love the people in my environment, to love what I do, to love what I get, and to love where I am. And I deserve that. Because the moment you really believe I deserve that, it becomes just a puzzle to fill. You just start looking out for what makes it possible. But if you don't believe that you don't deserve it, you continue sabotaging yourself. And that's a tragedy. You deserve better. So I send it with all my love and all my goodwill to the listeners. Love yourself and believe that you deserve it to have a good life. And everything else, practically fill the gaps. And if our tool helps you, it's our pleasure.
Thank you so much.